She's fun, she's funny, and she's got so much relatable advice to share from her personal journey. I'm so excited to have Julie from Officially Julie Comedy on Instagram and TikTok on the podcast as we talk about two truths and a lie, as we get to know each other and talk about her personal Jewish journey. Welcome back. I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, where we share short, relatable ideas to upgrade and impact your everyday life. I'm really excited to be doing this together with you. I know we've chatted about it months ago, and then I don't know what happened. Life, maybe?
Exactly.
Sometimes that happens, right? Okay, so let's jump right in, and we're gonna in order to I know there's probably a bunch of people here that are here because they know Julie, and there are a bunch of people that are here that because they know me. So in order to just kind of introduce ourselves in a fun way to everyone, we're gonna play a little game called Two Truths and a Lie, and anyone that's joining us, you will get to play with us, and the winner gets bragging rights. Right?
Sure. Zach, I think that's good.
Okay.
I don't know who they brag to.
Usually the same people that listen to bragging rights, which is no one.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
You start.
Okay. You know what? Do you want to start? Give me three things, and I'll try and guess which one is the. Well, no, we're going to open it out to everyone else and see if they can guess which one's the truth and which one's the lie.
Okay. So, two truths and a lie. When I made Aliyah, I didn't really want to live in Israel the rest of my life. When I became religious, there was a point I got into Breslev. And a Rebbetzin once taught me how to feed my large family with one chicken.
They all sound true. I don't even know which one might be the lie. What was the first one again?
So the first one is when I made Aliyah, I didn't really want to live in Israel my whole life. The other was when I became religious, there was a point I got into Breslev, or I wanted to be Breslev. And the other was a Rebbetzin once taught me how to feed my large family with one chicken.
Okay. How many people are in your family that you're feeding with this chicken?
So we are 7.
Okay, okay, let's open it up. Okay, we got one. Naomi saying that not wanting to spend your life in Israel is a lie.
Okay. What do I do now? Do I say you're?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, you're whatever. You can do the poker face game where you just keep us waiting forever and ever, or you can give us a clue. Is that the lie?
What?
The one about not wanting to live in Israel. Does anyone else want to guess what it might be?
For those joining, they probably like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Okay.
I'm gonna go with that one. No, I actually think it was probably true that you didn't want to live in Israel. No, if you made Aliyah, I don't know. Okay, I'm confused. We've got another vote for number 1. We've got a vote for number 3. Chicken, it's a lie. You can't feed 7. I don't know if that's a lie. I think you probably could feed 7 if you made chicken soup with part of it. And 1 minute, 7, possibly. Depends how old the kids are. Israel for sure. Okay. It seems like Israel's winning. Is it?
It's true.
It's true. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about why you made Aliyah if you didn't want to live there forever.
Okay, so I was in Israel on a work permit. I was working here, and in order for me to continue staying in the country and working, at the time, we're talking about the mid-90s, so this is like ages ago, I pretty much had a choice. Either I renew a work permit or I make Aliyah. At the time, I decided I'll make Aliyah, but I really wasn't sure that this is where I wanted to be the rest of my life. So
Fair
there,
enough.
there was a point when, after I got married and moved back to the States, that I really didn't want to come back here, because I had lived through, there were a lot of like terrorist attacks in the mid 90s, and I was living in Jerusalem, and that was really, really stressful for me. So there was a point was I don't think I can do that.
Right.
Okay, so that leaves us with
So that's the truth. So we've got the Breslov one is a lie. Someone is telling us that the Breslov one is a lie. I-
so that's true. You guys are doing great, but whoever picked number three, I saw that there was somebody who picked number three. That's a lie because no Rebbitzin ever told me I could feed a large family with one chicken. Now, I'm sure you could, but and I don't even know
But it was specifically worded, right? So um yeah. Okay, so the breast you were into Breslov for a while. Are you still into Breslov or
no, not really. So there was a point where when my husband and I started to become religious after our second son was born, he was probably around 2 years old. And my husband was gravitating toward Chabad, which is where we're at now. He's really like Chabad, and I'm sort of like, I don't want to put myself in a box. And there was a point where I started to proofread some of the Shalom Arush books, like The Garden of Peace, The Garden of Emunah, those types of books.
right?
And I wrote under a pen name for the Breslev website.
Oh, amazing.
And yeah, so I was really into that for a while. I also was like wearing two tichels and no makeup, and it was a process. I think when, at least for me, becoming religious, it was really trying to put myself in different places where I feel the most like me, and it took a long time to get there.
I feel like when we might, I mean, there's two really good topics that you spoke about there that we might come revisit. Um, so I got it wrong. I think a lot of us got it wrong. So you're obviously very good at this game. Um,
Great lying.
yeah. Now let's put it on your resume as like your skills and talents, right? All right. So let's see if you can guess what mine are.
Okay.
So number one is I've lived in 3 countries. Number two is from a very young age, I knew what I wanted to do, and I've always stuck with that. And number three is I have 8 kids, and I have a passion for parenting. That's two. Well, that's two. I don't know if that. Okay, whatever. Those are my three. So, which one?
Okay. You want to help me out here? What do you think? So Gila said she's lived in 3 different countries, but you didn't name the countries.
That's correct.
You have 8 kids and that this was the same one. You have 8 kids and you always knew what you wanted to do, correct?
No, there were two different ones. There
Oh,
was the number two was from a very young age I knew what I wanted to do, and I've always stuck with that. And number three is I've got 4 kids. So we've got some people that
did you
are.
say 4? I thought you said 8.
Did I say 4 just now?
Yes. Oh, wait a
Uh,
minute. This is a tough one, Gila. The lie. I'm gonna
so
take
what do you
a
think?
really wild guess.
Number two is a lie. She didn't always know what she wanted, nor did she stick with it. Don't think you have 8 kids.
Well,
Number three.
you should just say you have 4.
All right. So what's your guess on?
Oh, I think I'm gonna go with most people are saying that it's number 3 is the lie.
It's actually true. I do have 8 kids. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know which 4 I was thinking of when I said it the second time.
Well, at one point you had 4 kids.
That is true. That's true. I was like I just went back in time 10 years or something. But I do actually have 8 kids. Thank God.
Wow. Amazing. I have 5, and that for me was like, I grew up in a family with three, and I didn't grow up religious, right? So three is like considered a large family if you're
Yeah.
usually not in that religious world. So eight, psh, more power to you. What are their ages? Like, what's the age range?
So my oldest is 18 and my youngest is 2. So it's quite a big age range. And I honestly, I felt personally when I went to number 5, that is when I felt like I had a big family. But I also think it depends on the personality of the kids because my oldest is a boy, and then I have 3 girls, and then I have 4 little boys. And yeah, I feel like every parent should have kid number 5 because it really gives you humility. It's like that, that kid that you think, oh yeah, I've got it, I know what I'm doing, and then the kid comes and it's like, actually, I'm going to teach you a few things. So, yeah.
I think that happened to me after with number 2.
Oh, okay. Well, number 1 was a big culture shock for me, like whatever, but we still don't know which one is the lie.
Right. So you lived in 3 countries, or you always knew what you wanted? I'm gonna say number 1's the lie.
So number 1 is true.
We're doing
Ah,
great here.
you are doing great. A lot of people, number 1, I lived in England, I grew up in England, lived in Israel, I've lived in Canada as well.
Okay.
So that's the truth. And then I guess the lie, and a lot of people actually guessed it, which was number 2, is I did not always know what I wanted to do. I actually, growing up, I always thought I would want to either go into therapy or become like a therapist or educational psychologist, something like that, or journalism. And I became an educator. And I'm whatever. I still wonder from time to time, is like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. So that is definitely a lie. And I have a feeling that the people that chose number 2 have been following me for a bit of time and guessed that already.
I just wanted to shout out to some of the names that I see popping up who I recognize. Thank you so much for joining, Gila and me. Gila, I have to tell you something. My Hebrew name is Gila.
Oh,
And I officially got my Hebrew name not that long ago, maybe within the last 10 years, I guess. And I don't use it that much because for 2 reasons. One, I really like the name Julie. That's number 1. Number 2, I think in the process of becoming religious, it was very difficult for my family of origin. And I felt like I was already sort of separating myself in so many ways that I didn't want to also give up my name.
right.
So that's why I don't really call myself Gila, but there are a few people in my life who do call me Gila.
Can I ask you a question? Did you choose that name for yourself, or was that a name you were given as a child?
No, not as a child. So I grew up in the Reform movement, and I had a bat mitzvah at age 13, which is in the Reform movement, they bat mitzvah girls at age 13, not at 12. And I had to pick a name. So as we know, there's no J sound in Hebrew. So we looked at the Gimel names and I got to Gila. So I went along thinking that my name was Gila, but my name had never really been given to me in an official way, right?
Right.
So how did I actually come to it? It's an interesting story because I was visiting here in Israel. We lived back and forth between the States and Israel a few times. And I went to a mekubal, like somebody, like a big rabbi who specializes in a lot of mysticism, and he's not alive, but and in ketubah, reading the marriage contract, that sort of thing. And I said to him, I don't really have this Hebrew name. So he came up with a name, and I just said, I don't really connect with it. I said, what about Gila? So he said, well, if you take Gila, then your husband needs to take another name. So he said he should either take on David or Chaim. So I called my husband, who was actually with the kids in the States. I was in Israel by myself. And the line was silent. And he said, David, because my great grandfather, who was actually killed in Auschwitz, was named David. He was a Radomsker Chassid, and Chabad is Chassid, is a Chassidut also. So.
Right.
Anyway, that's
Interesting that.
the long story of how I got to the name.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the name Gila, for anyone that doesn't know, means joy, and I think it's a very apt name for you. So I was wondering if it was a name that drew you to it, or whatever. It's an interesting story to hear. Okay, you've spoken a little bit about Aliyah, and which is massive, and you've also spoken a little bit about your journey to, your Jewish journey, which I think has also piqued my interest. Both of them piqued my interest. Let's start with the Jewish journey, your Jewish journey, and I'd love to hear. Let's play the same game, right? Two truths and a lie. Tell us three things about it, and we'll try and guess which one is true and which one isn't. Which
Okay.
two? Which
So
one isn't? Yeah.
we start with Aliyah or becoming religious?
Let's talk about becoming religious first, and then we'll
Okay.
see how much time we have left.
Two truths and a lie. You will really be unsure who you are. Like you'll lose your identity. You'll only want to become religious if you go through a crisis. And you'll stop thinking for yourself.
Mm. Okay, let's can we say them again? Because I feel like there's two lies there.
Okay. You'll be unsure who you really are.
Okay.
You'll only want to become religious if you go through a crisis.
Okay.
And you'll stop thinking for yourself.
Mm. All right, I'm gonna open it up because to me there are two there that I think are not true. But let's open it up and see what, if anyone can help me out. One, two, or three. One was
Maybe I should clarify that I think it's also, I would say that this is for me personally. And
okay.
if, like, it sounds like some of them are lies, but there is a certain aspect that I experienced becoming religious that it was true for me for a while.
Right. Okay. Okay, fine. So this was it kind of in your. Okay, so we've got number two and number three maybe lies. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm also thinking number two and number three might be lies. The number one I'm pretty sure is true, because when are we ever really sure in life? Right, religious, not religious, you're on a journey, you're not on a journey. Like I think you know a human condition is not being for yourself. So you know what? Does anyone. Okay, number three is a lie. Number three, we've got a lot of number three is a lie. But let's first clarify if number one is true, because I'm gonna guess that it is true.
It's true. Because it really took me years and years and years. I'm not saying that I never got to the point of now I can say I'm pretty sure who I am, but it took me personally years and years and years to get there.
Right. Tell us a bit more about that. Like, what is it? Where is there, and what was that journey kind of like?
Right. So, okay. So when my husband and I started to become religious, we lived in Minnesota, which has a small religious, like Orthodox population. And when we first started to take on things like being kosher and keeping Shabbat, so our exposure was really to the American Haredi community or the Chabad community. When we moved to Israel, maybe I think it was a few years later, all of a sudden I'm seeing people who are religious, but they're women wearing short sleeve shirts, covering their hair and wearing jeans, wearing a sheitel and a skirt where you see the knees. I mean, there was so much variation that I hadn't been exposed to in sort of the little bubble where I became religious. So that was very confusing. and
Right.
and then I think, and it might be, I don't know, it may be because I'm more of a creative type, that it was very hard for me to say, I'm just going to put myself into this box, right? I'm going to just be one flavor of Judaism. And I needed to try different things. That's when I said in the beginning that I was kind of into Breslov for a while. And I, to this day, still have a very hard time putting myself in a box. When it comes to raising kids, though, it's a little bit different. Like you have to give them a
Right.
structure. I have kids who are all over the place. I have kids who are religious, and I have someone who's not religious, and so it really varies.
Yeah.
But that was my process.
Right, it's true because I find, and I've worked with a lot of people that have obviously gone on their own Jewish journeys, and I find that it's not so much about putting yourself into a box because that's not really helpful, but what is helpful is finding your community, and that takes time, right? To find your community, and you're so right about our kids is that like for ourselves, we can sort of do it, but like kids need a community, they do. And they need to kind of feel that they're growing up within a community that they sort of fit into. So I can definitely you raise a good point, and I can relate to it. And I think I saw some of the comments further up. I've lost them now. That there were lots of people that could relate to it. Okay, so we had. I think the general consensus was that number three was the lie, but I'm not sure. I wonder if number two was a lie as well. So I don't know. I'm gonna ask you. I give up. I surrender.
Okay, so these I wrote in a very personal way. It's obviously not like this for everybody. What we're down to for people who are joining us is we're down to one truth and one lie. So it could either be you'll only want to become religious if you go through a crisis, and you'll stop thinking for yourself.
So I find that number two is quite a common thought about people that become religious, that they have to have gone through a crisis. But actually, it's not. I don't like my experience with it is that that's not always, now I'm thinking about the people that I know personally that have gone through, have become um, um, more religious, and some of them, the truth is actually I'm thinking that the vast majority did not go through a crisis. So I don't know. I'm going to say that that is a lie.
So for me, that's right.
Okay.
Because I did not have a crisis. Nothing in my life, actually my life was going swimmingly. Everything was going great. And then we just sort of started to take on things in a slower way. And so for me, it was just adding on to my life. And
Right.
in a way, maybe I did actually feel somewhat of a crisis once I chose to live a religious life, because then it created a lot of mayhem in my family and in my life and in my choices. That was something that for sure
Right.
crisis. But it's a little bit loaded what the lie is, because I said you'll stop thinking for yourself.
And I feel like, can I guess this one? Because I feel like I've got it. I'm sure I'm going to be wrong, but let's try it. I feel like you went through a phase where you stopped thinking for yourself, and then you came out of that. So it's kind of like a half lie.
So I think, yes, I think that was my,
So I just want to say something
yeah,
for
yeah.
the record, that the rules were two truths and a lie, and that was 1.5 and 1.5. So I still win. Just putting it out there. Not that I'm competitive or anything like that, right? But I do win this round, even if I lost the last round.
But I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't like I sort of thought you had to stop thinking for yourself, because I felt like there were so many rules to go by. And, and you do what the rabbis tell you to do, and you do what everybody says to do. And when I got to that point, and it was a misconception that really threw me off. And then it got to the point where I learned that that's not necessarily the case, and there's plenty of room for free choice. And so, yeah.
Wow. Do you want to tell us anything else about that, or about that journey a little
Oh,
bit?
no, I mean we can move on, because I think we said we wanted to keep this
Yeah. So the truth is,
yeah.
the truth is, we this is amazing, and I really, really, really want to catch up with you on Aliyah, but I know we're running out of time. So I'd love to, if it works for you, I'd love to do a follow-up live whatever work we can arrange offline when works. But just before we go, if you have one sort of like myth that you wanted to dispel for people that are making or on their own Jewish journey, right? Or making changes, big changes in their Jewish life, what would it be? I know it's a hard question, and I know I hadn't sent it to you before, so it was like totally putting you on the spot here.
Wait a minute. I was actually reading the comments, so I got a little thrown off.
Okay.
So did you say dispel a myth or what
Yeah,
was
dispel a myth for someone, who is taking their journey, thinking about taking a journey, whatever, or just making a Jewish change in their life.
So there's actually something, if with your permission, I wanted to take it a little bit differently. And one of the things that I feel is so important is I feel like when people become religious, and this happened to me too, they become much more judgmental of people who don't think like them, people who don't make the same choices, perhaps non-religious family and friends who didn't make the same choices. I found myself doing that. And I think that also I've seen a lot of what I consider to be tragedy, which is a lot of cutting off family members because they're not religious and we are, and we don't want to expose our kids. That actually was suggested to me at one point years ago, and it still to this day really upsets me. So I think in a way, a myth is that you need to put yourself in a bubble to protect you and your kids because the big bad outside world is there, and even people who are important in your life can have negative influence. But I actually think that that's a huge mistake because if there's already some pain in family relationships when somebody becomes religious, that's just going to deepen, and it's just going to be a tragedy, really. So that's a huge conversation, but I wanted to put it out there because I really
I think it is a huge conversation, and it's interesting because we went through this whatever similar scenario with one of our kids recently, and I remember speaking to someone, and he said to us, so right, he was like, your kid is going to meet those people anyway, right? And I think really the best thing we can do for our kids is the home that we create, right? If we have a strong relationship with them, if we have a healthier home, right? That is the best thing we can do, rather than just shutting out the outside world, is like strengthening the internal thing. And the other thing to bear in mind is that just like we have free choice, our kids also have free choice. Right, and they are going to make their decisions as well. So I think you're right, and I wonder if it's just, this is just my thoughts, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I don't know if it's I think people that go through changes, right? Like someone who becomes vegetarian or vegan, they do it because they believe in it, and and they're passionate about it. It's very hard to sort of rein that passion in and say, hold on a second, I can't change the rest of the world just by like being judgmental, being whatever. And I don't know if that resonates, but I think you see it a lot of times in people that make any sort of change in their life, is that they kind of want to share it with other people, which is a good thing. It's just a question of doing it in the right way, and doing it in a way that brings others closer to you and not pushes them away.
Yes, I totally agree. I've definitely learned a lot of things the hard way, but I think a lot of life is like that.
That is true. That is true. We learn, we do learn a lot of things. We figure things out on our own the hard way, or we learn from people that are more experienced than us, and hopefully that's a little bit of an easier way to learn. Julie, this has been an incredible conversation. Way too short. Let's try and do a follow-up about your Aliyah, because I feel like that would be a fascinating area to explore as well.
I'm happy. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear what you thought. You can get in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram at Gila Ross. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thank you and have a wonderful day.